Dr. Elon Mira stood by the wide observation window of the Unity Arc, staring at the blue curve of Earth far below. The station was massive, an artificial ring orbiting the planet, glowing with soft lights and humming with quiet energy. It was the heart of the Galactic Confederation, a place where hundreds of alien species came together to make decisions that shaped the galaxy. Elon took a deep breath. Today was humanity's most important day. For the past 20 years, Earth had been preparing for this moment, its final evaluation before becoming a full member of the Confederation's inner circle. Only one thing had been required: peace. To make that possible, every human working in interstellar space had been implanted with a courtesy mode chip. The chip detected signs of rising aggression and gently calmed the brain. It helped humans stay calm, polite, and safe around other species. So far, it had worked. Earth's reputation had improved. The old fears of human violence were slowly fading. But not for everyone. Elon turned from a window and walked briskly through the main corridor toward the human preparation chamber. She wore a slim white uniform with a silver Confederation badge over her chest. Her mind was sharp, always alert. She had studied human behavior her whole life and believed in change. More than anything, she believed humanity was ready. Inside the chamber, 5 human representatives stood waiting. Among them was Ambassador Reich, a former diplomat known for his sharp words and quick mind. He looked calm, but Elon noticed his fingers tapping nervously against his leg. "Everyone ready?" she asked. Reich gave a short nod. "As we'll ever be." Elon gave them all a firm look. The council members are cautious. Some still think we're dangerous. Today, you need to show them that we've moved past that. Stay calm. Let the chip help if emotions rise. Courtesy mode is not weakness, it's trust. The team nodded. They had trained for this moment for years. Outside, the station buzzed with activity. Species from across the galaxy moved through glowing halls. Tall beings with crystal skin, floating creatures with soft lights, and armored delegates who didn't speak with words at all. Elon had lived among them for 10 years. She had earned their respect. Now, she had to help her own people do the same. The chamber door opened. A soft chime sounded. A Confederation assistant, a thin, golden alien with long arms, gestured toward the council hall. "It is time," the assistant said in a melodic voice. Elon turned to the humans. "Let's make history." They walked together through the shining corridors. Every step echoed. As they neared the great council hall, Elon felt her heart beat faster. Not from fear, but from hope. They were close to something great. All they had to do was stay true to what they had become. The doors opened. Inside, the council members sat in a circle of tall chairs, each one shaped to fit its occupant. At the center was the High Arbitrator, Zeldar, a tall, skeletal figure with gray-blue skin and dark, unreadable eyes. His voice echoed through the room. "Let the human evaluation begin." Elon felt a chill as she met Zeldar's gaze. He did not blink. He never did. She stepped forward, head held high. "On behalf of Earth, I thank you for this opportunity," she said clearly. "We are here to show that humanity is ready." But in Zeldar's eyes, there was no welcome, only cold doubt. The council hall was silent, except for the hum of energy flowing through the chamber's walls. Dozens of alien eyes watched the humans carefully, some curious, some cautious, a few openly nervous. Dr. Elon Mira stood with her team at the center of the wide, circular room. The humans remained calm, standing straight and respectful. A faint blue glow blinked on the sides of their necks, an outward sign that their courtesy mode chips were active. High Arbitrator Zeldar stood slowly. He was tall and thin, his long arms folded behind his back. His voice echoed across the hall. "We have observed humanity's progress. We recognize your efforts to control your natural aggression. Today, we witness your behavior without interference. This is not a test of your machines. It is a test of your minds." Elon stepped forward. "We understand, Arbitrator. We are ready." Zeldar gave a small nod and returned to his seat. A glowing platform rose in the center of the chamber. Ambassador Reich stepped onto it. His job was to answer questions and engage in peaceful discussion with the council members. He had done this many times before. The first question came from a green, insect-like alien named Hiskala. Ambassador Reich, she clicked. How do humans resolve conflict without violence now? Reich answered smoothly. Through reason, law, and empathy. We've learned that force only delays peace. Our governments cooperate. Our people choose dialogue. Several council members nodded slightly. So far, so good. Then came a question from Zeldar. What if another species threatens Earth? What do your instincts tell you? Reich paused, then said, Our instincts may still exist, but they do not control us. We choose who we are. Zeldar stared at him for a long moment. And then something changed. Reich's head tilted slightly. His face tensed. He blinked rapidly and raised a hand to his neck. The chip, he muttered. Elin frowned. Ambassador? Reich's eyes narrowed. His voice changed. Louder. Sharper. Is this a joke? Are we just animals to you? Murmurs rippled across the chamber. The glow on Reich's neck, the chip signal, had turned red, then vanished. Reich turned to Hiskala, pointing a shaking finger. You question us like we're still beasts. You want to see anger? Fine. Gasps echoed through the hall. Hiskala stepped back, wings twitching. Guards rushed forward, but Elin got there first. She grabbed Reich's arm. Reich, stop. This isn't you. His eyes were wide, confused. He looked around the room like he had just woken up in a nightmare. I didn't mean to. I felt. He stumbled back. Two Confederation guards gently took hold of him and led him out of the chamber. The other humans looked shaken. Elin turned toward the council, her voice calm but urgent. Something went wrong with his chip. That behavior isn't normal. It was triggered. Zeldar stood again. Or perhaps this is the truth beneath the surface. You can hide behind technology, Dr. Mira, but the beast remains. No, Elin said firmly. There's been a malfunction. I asked the council for time to investigate. The chamber was quiet again. Then Zeldar gave a short nod. You have 48 hours. Prove that this was not your nature unmasked, or humanity will be denied entry to the Confederation forever. The session ended. The doors opened. Elin stood alone at the center, her heart heavy. Something had gone very wrong. And now, all of Earth's future rested in what she would find next. Dr. Elin Mira moved quickly through the bright corridors of Unity Arc, her thoughts racing. The Council had given her 2 days. Just 48 hours to prove that Ambassador Reich's outburst wasn't a sign of human nature, but something else, something unnatural. She entered the secure human quarters, where Reich was now resting under observation. He sat on the edge of a medical bed, hands shaking, eyes wide with guilt. I felt it, Elin, he said quietly. It was like a switch flipped. 1 second I was calm, and then rage. I knew what I was doing, but I couldn't stop it. The chip just shut off. Elin nodded. I believe you, but we need to prove it. She turned to Gyrith, a Confederation technician assigned to her. He was a thin, silvery-skinned being with glowing blue eyes and long, delicate fingers. His species, the Sonari, were known for their skill with data and machines. I need access to Reich's chip logs, Elin said. Full diagnostic. Can you help me? Gyrith tilted his head and blinked slowly. Yes, but it must be done carefully. Council records are protected. We must not alert Arbitrator Zeldar too soon. Understood, Elin replied. Let's begin. They entered the data lab, a quiet room filled with glowing screens and holographic displays. Gyrith connected Reich's chip to the analyzer. Lines of code scrolled across the monitors. This is strange, Gyrith said after a moment. The chip didn't fail. It was shut down. Remotely, Elin asked. Yes. A signal hit it from within the station network, like an override command. But not from human systems. Elin stared at the screen. Her mind clicked into focus. Someone on the station turned off his courtesy mode. Gyrith nodded. It appears intentional. Elin felt a wave of anger, but she kept it under control. She had no room for emotion now. Only facts. Can we trace the signal? She asked. Gyrith's fingers danced across the console. The source is hidden, but not perfectly. It came from a council-level terminal. That narrows it down to 6 users. Elin didn't say it out loud, but she already knew who she suspected. Zeldar. He had never trusted humans. What if he had done this to prove his point? But suspicion wasn't proof. She needed more. Keep digging, she told Gyrith. We need to find the exact source, and we need to do it before the council meets again. As Gyrith worked, Elin stepped away and opened a secure channel to Earth. A familiar face appeared, Director Malin, her superior at Earth's Interstellar Diplomacy Bureau. We've got a problem, Elin said. I saw the broadcast, Malin replied. The whole planet saw it. Elin closed her eyes for a second. I'm going to fix this. You have less than 2 days, Elin. Do whatever it takes. She ended the call and returned to Gyrith's side. The screen now showed a trail, a chain of code that led toward the Council's internal network. It was a ghost signal covered in false paths, but something about it looked familiar. Can we trace this code pattern back to a specific Sol? Elin asked. Gyrith nodded slowly. Yes, but we'll need clearance. Elin thought for a moment. Then we'll find another way. If someone inside the Council sabotaged the chip, they left a trace. And we'll find it. Time was running out. The clock above the lab glowed softly. 47 hours left. Elin clenched her jaw and stared at the data stream. She wasn't just defending Reich. She was defending all of Earth. Time was slipping away. Dr. Elin Mira walked through the dim corridor that led to the Confederation's restricted systems wing. The lights here were lower. The walls hummed with quiet energy. Only authorized officials were allowed in this section, and she wasn't one of them. But she had Gyrith. He moved beside her, silent and steady. In his hand was a small device that masked their presence. His species didn't break rules easily, but even he understood the stakes. If we're caught, he said softly, I could be removed from service. I know, Elin replied, and I won't let that happen. They reached a sealed door marked Level 3 access, Council terminals only. Gyrith placed the device on the panel. The lights flickered, then turned green. The door slid open. Inside was a row of private terminals used by Council members to review documents, communicate, and access station systems. Elin stepped up to the one assigned to High Arbitrator Zeldar. Are you sure this is the one? She whispered. Gyrith nodded. The signal that deactivated Reich's chip matches a signature routed through this terminal. It passed through several layers to hide it, but the origin points here. Elin sat down. Her fingers moved over the interface. Gyrith plugged in the analyzer tool. Data streamed across the screen. It was dense, encrypted, and heavily protected. But Elin wasn't trying to break anything, just follow a trail. There, she said, pointing to a string of code hidden in a routine data check. It looks like a silent command. A command sent to Reich's chip, Gyrith confirmed. Very precise. Very dangerous. They paused. It was quiet in the room, except for the soft hum of machines. Elin stared at the evidence. She finally had what she needed, a link between Zeldar's terminal and the override command. But proving why he did it, that would be harder. The Council would need more than technical logs. They'd need motive. She backed out of the system and nodded to Gyrith. Let's go before someone finds us. Back in the safe zone of the human quarters, Elin gathered her thoughts. She looked at the data again, this time not just as a scientist, but as a strategist. Why would Zeldar do this? He had always doubted humans. Maybe he believed they would never change. Maybe he thought the only way to keep the galaxy safe was to expose them. Or maybe he wanted to prove himself right so badly that he risked sabotaging Earth's chance at peace. Later that night, Elin stood alone in the observation deck. The stars stretched far and cold around the Unity, Arkansas. Earth hung below like a fragile gem. Behind her, Gyrith spoke. If you accuse a council member, the burden of proof must be overwhelming. I know, Elin said. We don't just need evidence. We need the truth, and we need the council to believe it. Gyrith hesitated. There's one more thing. That signal? It wasn't just meant to disable the chip. It was designed to trigger the most primal responses in the brain: fear, anger, panic. Elin turned sharply. So it wasn't just an off switch. It was a weapon. Gyrith nodded. Yes, someone didn't just want Reich to lose control. They wanted him to become a threat. Elin's stomach turned. This wasn't just sabotage. It was a setup. She looked back out at Earth. One wrong move, and everything could be lost. Tomorrow, she would confront Zeldar. She had to, because someone had decided to test humanity, and they had done it with a lie. Dr. Elin Mira stood outside the council chambers, the quiet hum of Unity Arc vibrating beneath her boots. Her mind was clear. She knew what she had to do. In her hand was a data crystal. It contained the log Jirith had recovered, proof that the override signal to disable Ambassador Reich's chip had come from High Arbitrator Zeldar's terminal. Not a glitch, not an accident, a choice. But this wasn't something she could simply hand over. Not yet, not without understanding why. She requested a private audience. To her surprise, Zeldar agreed. Inside his personal chamber, the lights were dim. Strange symbols shimmered on the walls. The air was colder here. Zeldar stood tall at the center, his hands folded behind him. "You are bold to request this meeting, Dr. Mira," he said, his voice low and smooth. "What do you wish to say?" Elin stepped forward, slowly and without fear. "I know about the override signal. The one sent from your terminal. The one that turned off Reich's courtesy mode and triggered his aggression." A silence stretched between them. "You broke protocol, accessed council data," he replied without emotion. "A violation worthy of expulsion." "You didn't deny it," Elin said quietly. Zeldar moved toward the window and looked out into space. "The council was ready to let you in. And yet I knew, deep down, humans are still the same. The chip masks your nature, not changes it." "You didn't test us," Elin said. "You provoked us. You set us up." "I revealed the truth," he replied calmly. "What happens when your control is removed?" The ambassador became exactly what I predicted. A creature of rage. A risk. Elin's voice grew sharper. "You didn't see a threat. You created one. You manipulated Reich. You manipulated the council." Zeldar turned back to her. "The galaxy has no room for risk. We remember what your species did in the last century. You call yourselves changed, but peace created by chips is not peace. It is silence. And silence can break." Elin stared at him. "You're afraid. That's all this is. You don't trust change because you don't believe it's real. But Earth has changed. Not because we had to. Because we chose to." Zeldar said nothing. She stepped closer, holding up the crystal. "I'm taking this to the council. They'll see what you did. They'll know the truth." Zeldar's eyes narrowed, but he didn't move to stop her. "Be careful, Dr. Mira. Not every truth brings unity. Some bring fire." Elin turned and walked out. Back in the human quarters, she met with Jirith. He was already preparing the data presentation. "We have 30 hours left," he said. "Then we'll use every one of them," Elin replied. They began compiling a full report. The chip logs from Reich, the signal trace, the embedded override command, the neural response spike pattern Jirith discovered, and the timeline matching Zeldar's access session to the moment of Reich's outburst. Everything lined up. "This isn't just defense anymore," Elin said, watching the last line of code appear on the screen. "It's a case of sabotage." Jirith looked at her. "Will the council believe you?" "They have to," she said. "If they don't, it's not just Earth at risk. It's the whole idea of the Confederation." She stared at the glowing data one last time. Tomorrow, she would stand before the council, not just to defend humanity, but to expose the fear that had nearly destroyed their future. And this time, she would not be silent. The council chamber was full. Representatives from over 50 species sat in a wide circle, their eyes focused on the center of the room. The air was still. The tension was heavy. Today, the future of Earth would be decided. Dr. Elin Mira stood alone on the speaking platform. Behind her, the other human delegates waited in silence. Ambassador Reich had recovered, but the weight of what happened still rested on his shoulders. Elin took a breath and stepped forward. "Members of the council," she began, her voice calm but strong. "2 days ago, you witnessed an outburst by Ambassador Reich. Many believed it was proof of humanity's true nature. A few quiet murmurs spread across the room. But I'm here to show you what really happened." She raised a small device. A clear holographic projection appeared above it. Lines of code, energy signals, and timestamps floated in the air. "This is data from the courtesy mode chip implanted in Ambassador Reich. The chip did not fail on its own. It was shut down by a remote override signal. The room grew silent again. Elin continued. We traced the signal. It was masked carefully, routed through multiple systems, but it left a trail. A digital fingerprint. That fingerprint leads to one place. She paused and looked directly at High Arbitrator Zeldar. It came from a council terminal. Your terminal. Gasps echoed through the hall. Zeldar sat motionless. We also discovered that the signal wasn't just a shutdown command. It triggered a response in the brain. Fear, rage, panic. It was not an accident. It was designed to force a reaction. A trap. A council member with scales and golden eyes leaned forward. Are you accusing the arbitrator of sabotage? Elin didn't blink. I am presenting facts. The data is open for review. I believe High Arbitrator Zeldar acted out of fear, not malice. But fear cannot be the foundation for judgment. All eyes turned to Zeldar. He stood slowly. I acted to protect the Confederation, he said, his voice calm but cold. Humans were a mask of peace, held in place by machines. I removed the mask. What I saw confirmed my fears. Elin stepped forward. No, what you provoked was a reaction to violence, not a return to our past. What you did was manipulation. You didn't uncover the truth. You distorted it. Zeldar looked at the other council members. You may choose to believe them, but one moment of rage can undo 1,000 promises. A silence followed. Then an old council member with a soft, glowing shell spoke. We have lived through war. We know what fear can do, but we also know that peace cannot grow in shadows. Another voice joined, then another. Most did not speak loudly, but their eyes had changed. Finally, the lead voice of the council, a being named Velan, stood. Dr. Mira, Velan said, your evidence is clear. Your actions were careful. And your words, true. He turned to Zeldar. You have served with wisdom, but fear led you to violate the very peace you claim to protect. Your vote is suspended. The council will now decide. Elin stepped back, her heart pounding. The vote began. One by one, lights lit up around the room. Green for yes, red for no. Green, green, green. One red, then more green. The final count appeared above the chamber. Earth continued observation. Integration deferred. Trust remains possible. It wasn't full membership, but it wasn't exile either. It was hope. Elin let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Reich placed a hand on her shoulder. You did it, he said. No, she replied. We did. She turned to the council and bowed her head. Thank you, she said, for seeing us. The Unity Arc was quiet now. The council chamber had emptied. The lights had dimmed. Dr. Elin Mira stood alone once again at the wide observation window. Below her, Earth turned slowly in the dark, half in sunlight, half in shadow. It looked peaceful, but peace was never simple. Behind her, the door opened. Jirith entered, carrying a small data tablet. It's official, he said gently. The council logged the decision. Humanity will remain in the Confederation under continued observation. Membership is delayed, but trust is not broken. Elin nodded. That's more than I hoped for. She wasn't disappointed. She knew real trust couldn't be earned in one vote or in one day. Trust was a process, a long one. But today, humanity had taken another step forward. Jirith stood beside her in silence for a while. Then he spoke. You risked everything. Your career, your standing, to expose the truth. I had to, Elin said simply. If we had lied or stayed quiet, we would have proved Zeldar right. And now, Jirith asked, what happens next? We go home, she said. We show Earth what happened here. We keep working, keep learning. And next time, we don't need chips to prove we've changed. Jirith smiled faintly in the quiet way of his kind. Then maybe your species has truly begun to evolve. Elin gave a small laugh. We still argue, still make mistakes. But yes, maybe we have. She walked to the communications panel and opened a direct channel to Earth. The screen glowed blue, then green. A calm voice on the other end said, ready to record. Elin leaned forward slightly and spoke. This is Dr. Elin Mira from the Unity Arkansas final report. The council has voted. We remain under observation, but the door is still open. High Arbitrator Zeldar's interference has been exposed. His vote was removed, and humanity was defended not by silence, but by truth. We were tested, and we were seen, truly seen. We moved forward with care, with honesty, and with hope. She ended the recording and sent it to Earth. Later that night, Elin sat in her small cabin, a cup of warm tea in her hand. Reich sat across from her, quiet but peaceful. "Do you think he'll ever understand what he did?" Reich asked, meaning Zeldar. "Maybe not," Elin said. "But maybe that's not the point. This wasn't about changing his mind. It was about showing who we are, even when no one believes us." Reich nodded. "You think the Council will trust us in time?" "They already started to," she said. "They gave us a chance. That's all we needed." The station lights dimmed slightly as night mode began. Outside the window, Earth slowly spun beneath the stars. Elin looked out at her home planet, full of noise and beauty, mistakes and courage. Not perfect, but growing. And that was enough.